Okay, for figure B, I see we've got a trapezoid here. I am going to first cut this down into a rectangle because I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 halves, which is 7. So I know figure B has at least 7 full squares. Now I need to figure out what the area of this triangle is. So what I'm going to do is make it into a rectangle. Now this one's a little bit tricky, I can tell, because the base is 1.5 and the height is 1, 2, 3.5. So I'm going to start by counting my boxes. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put these two together for 4. I'm going to put this one with this one, and that makes 5. And I'm going to put an X in here just so I know I counted it. And now this one, we want to be cautious because it is smaller than a whole. But if I look, it's actually a half of a half, which means it's a quarter. All right, so I know figure B is 7. And I'm going to be adding it to 5, half of 5.25. So that means I need to add it to 5.25 divided into 2 pieces. So if you were struggling with B, I bet you it has to do with cutting this guy in half. All right. So I've been showing some mental math strategies of how I would do 5.25 divided by 2. I'm going to show us a different strategy for figure B. So I'm going to start by making this into an improper fraction. So I know that 5 wholes, if they're fourths, is actually 20 fourths. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus the one I have there, so that's 21 fourths. And I'm going to cut that guy into 2. Now, I know that if my numerator was even, this would be really easy to cut into 2. If this was 20 fourths, I know cutting it into 2 would be 10 fourths and 10 fourths. So being 21 makes it a little bit tricky. So I'm actually going to find the strategy I'm going to use is to find an equivalent fraction to 21 fourths that has an even numerator. So I know if I take 21 and times it by 2, that's going to become 42. But if I do that to the numerator, I need to do that to the denominator. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now, I know there are a lot of other strategies for dividing a number by 2. I'm picking this one because I feel like there's steps that are manageable for me. So 42 eighths, I need to divide this into 2 equal groups. So I'm going to show it with this little, just sort of carrot. I'm going to split it apart. Let's see here. I want to make it into 2 equal groups. So 42 divided by 2 would be 21. 21 eighths and 21 eighths. My denominator is staying the same because my pieces aren't changing, but my size of my pieces aren't changing, but what I'm doing is splitting how many pieces I have up, which means 42 eighths divided by 2 equals 21 eighths. All right, so now I have 21 eighths, which is half of this rectangle here. I'm going to change that into a mixed number. So I have to ask myself, well, how many times does 8 fit into 21? And it goes in 2 times. And then I need to say, well, how many would be left over? So 2 groups of 8 would be 16. So that means I have 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5 eighths left over. if you were struggling with figure B, it probably has something to do with this step right here of figuring out what half of this number is. So now that you have half of that number, I can put my half together with this rectangle. So I'm going to take another Post-it note to do my addition. So I'm going to put my 7 plus my 2 5/8 is going to be the area of my trapezoid. And I know that I can just put my holes together, so I end up with 9 5/8 centimeters squared.